You're watching the number one podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean-Paul Laec, and this is Rope Break. Family, you know what time it is. It's Wednesday. So it was AEW Dynamite go-home show for Revolution, the Crossroads they were calling it. Really, the big thing tonight was going to be the match between Shaq and with Jade Cargill versus Cody and Red Velvet. That's the thing everybody wanted to see besides, Paul Wight making his actual AEW debut. But besides that, just build for the pay-per-view we wanted to see. I wasn't excited for the women's final in the Eliminator tournament to determine the number one contender. I didn't think any of those two women should have been in the finals. But, hey, that's just me. So let's get into it, guys. But before we do, always want to thank each and every one of you. Go check out NXT if you haven't already. Juan and I, we covered that show. The days are numbered for that show on Wednesday nights. Go check out that review and all of our thoughts on that whole show. And, of course, Monday Night Raw review with yours truly. But, the show started out hot with obviously, like I said, the match everybody wanted to see. I would have really put this in the main event or saved it for the pay-per-view, but Cody's also wrestling in the, face of the Revolution ladder match or whatever. So, he's probably going to win that, or Shaq's going to cost him that match or something like that. I could easily see happening. So that's why this took place on this show. And this was okay. Jade Cargill actually looked better than I thought she would in this. Red Velvet is, I thought she, made a name for herself here, because she had a lot of wins on dark, but not too many on actual, AEW Dynamite. So she looked good here. But Jade was fine. The only thing I didn't like is just the showboating after every move. That was a little bullshit. Shaq, obviously, he's not The Undertaker. He's not Kane or anything, but he's a little bit better than the Great Khali. So, we definitely seen worse, but we definitely have seen better. I like how he no-sold most of Cody's offense. And Cody, really sold for him, except when Shaq hit him with a huge power bomb. Then Cody popped right back up and slammed him. So it's like, okay, we're just not going to sell anything. So that was great. But other than that, no real complaints. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is, amazing, but it wasn't, oh, this is the shits either. It was, it was okay for what it was. It was a spectacle, and it didn't go very long either. That's the good thing. One thing, though, that really pissed me off is Shaq goes to the outside, and one of the Billy Gunn's kids whacks him with a chair. And it's like, okay, the match should have ended in a DQ or whatever. But then, they went through tables at the end. So maybe there is no DQ. But the ref saw this, didn't say anything. Shaq starts beating the shit out of the Gun Club. And then QT comes out. And they're like, oh, my God, Shaq, calm down. And it's like, he just got hit with a chair shot. I'd be pissed, too. So logic, again, out the window on this show. But Cody, he crossbody Shaq. They set up two tables at some point for some reason in this match. And Shaq's kind of on the outside. Cody crossbodies him through the two tables. They're taken out of this thing. Red Velvet hits a spear for a 2 count, tries to fight back. Jade Cargill eventually hits the glam slam for the 1, 2, 3. So the heels win in here. That's the right thing to do, I think. And then we see Shaq. He gets loaded into the ambulance. Later on, Tony Schiavone goes to check on him, and he's not there, so we don't know where he is. That's going to be probably a mystery, something going into Revolution. So, pretty, good start to the show. And then we see Pac and Phoenix versus John Skyler and D3. And this was over as soon as it started. They beat the shit out of these guys. Pac hits a 450. Phoenix hits the Phoenix driver, 1, 2, 3, and done. Let's hype these guys up for the tag team. Battle Royal or something they got going on? Some kind of tag team, crazy match at Revolution. Then we see a recap of Jericho and MJF beatdown on Papa Buck last week and all that stuff. And now we're going to a Inner Circle press conference. So we go to that. Dasha introduces everybody. And then Jericho says that it's been 1 year since he lost his AEW championship, and that he says he's a 7-time tag champ with partners that include Dwayne Johnson and Paul Wight, because obviously can't use WWE names. And he says MJF is better than both of them, and they will win the tag belts at Revolution. You couldn't hear what the guy asked him, but it's probably like, oh, what do you think your chances, blah, 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 because the mic was like done. So, and then they get Conrad come up, and he asked what the odds are of letting Sami back in the inner circle. MJF calls him turkey tits, and I lost my mind. That was like the funniest thing. That was the best thing of this whole show, seeing Conrad Thompson's face when he's out of breath, just, oh, that's Conrad Thompson here. He's already out of breath, so turkey tits was appropriate. They make fun of him, and they send him away. Barstool Sports asks why they attacked Papa Buck last week, and MJF says it was in self-defense, and that he got Papa. He's like, everybody's asking about him, nobody's asking about me, and how I got his blood out of my expensive suits. I don't shop at Target and Baby Gap like all of you. And then MJF says that what they will do to the Bucks at Revolution will be that, in their match will be a lot worse than what they did to Papa Buck. And then they had like, well, we didn't really illustrate this. This wasn't our idea. And Santana is like, he says, it was his idea to bring or he asked them if they thought it was a good idea to bring their father out last week and everything. So kind of hinting and smiling. He's like, there's no line the inner circle won't cross. So clearly it was, Santana and Ortiz's idea. Then Eric Bischoff, of course, has to come out. And I can't stand Eric Bischoff seeing his face. Just, I'm good. And then he introduced himself. He asked Jericho if he knows the condition of Papa Buck and where does the pissing off the Young Bucks rank in his bad ideas. And he says he doesn't care about Papa Buck's condition. The Young Bucks, their music hits and they come out, they cut a promo and they said, our father believed in us, yada, 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 all this babyface stuff. It wouldn't be for him. There wouldn't be no Young Bucks. There wouldn't be no AEW. You wouldn't have a job. You'd be a curtain jerker, for the Performance Center and all that. So they get pissed. So they start attacking the Young Bucks. They super kick MJF and Jericho. The inner circle attacks. Brandon Cutler comes out. Referees, Gallows and Anderson, they come out. They beat everybody up. They sent Santana and Ortiz on the table. Simultaneous dives from the Bucks go through the table so they stand tall. Did it get you excited? If it did, great. Did it get me excited? No. Again, a match I'm not looking forward to. Clear winner is going to be the Bucks. No way they lose these titles. So how can you get excited for a match? You already know the outcome. Then we see a video package of Moxley and Omega. That was really good. Everything, just leading up with that Onita and all that stuff. It was good. It's exciting. Like I said, I'm excited for this match. It's not my cup of tea, but I am excited. I want to see how it's going to be because both these guys are at least making it – they're making it feel as legit as AEW can make something feel legit. Then we see FTR. They make their entrance for the six-man tag, and they're accompanied by J.J. Dillon. So that was really cool. I like this. The Jurassic Express versus FTR and Tully Blanchard. And this wasn't a bad match. Tully, for his age and stuff, when he was in there, he looked good. Obviously, Dax and Cash are they're fantastic. And Jungle Boy's good. Luchasaurus, he's finally slowed it down. I think he knows his role. And, now he just needs to shut his mouth and then he'll be good. And Marco Stunt I can absolutely stand. But, this thing was good. And, at the end of it, Jungle Boy, he climbs up to the top rope. Dak hits a suplex. And then Cash hits a splash for a 2 count. German suplexes, all this stuff, good stuff, chops, everything through this match just was great. And he actually hits a tail whip on Tully Blanchard, Luchasaurus does, so that was awesome. And then they get a 2 count. Jungle Boy, he hits a dive to the outside, but he accidentally hit like a cameraman, or a cameraman got, he pulled someone in the way. I forget what it was, and they're like, oh, what's that? Oh, no, I think he hit the cameraman. And then they're like, oh, what's going on? This is like, who the hell is this guy? And then JR, they blow it right away. Instead of selling it like it's a cameraman, they're like, oh, well, clearly that's, he must know FTR. He must be with them, blah, blah, blah. And then the cameraman, he hits, the cameraman hit Luchasaurus. I'm sorry. And then a spike pile driver from FTR and Tully Blanchard onto Luchasaurus then. So they get the win, and that's cool to see Tully pin him. That's going to go down the record books. Tully Blanchard pins Luchasaurus in 2021. Who had that on their, on their bingo card? I don't think anybody. And then it's revealed to be Sean Spears. He's the cameraman. So now we kind of have the 4 horsemen. Tully's in there. And then we have J.J. Dillon, the manager. So that was a pretty cool picture. Old WCW 2.0 trying to recreate the 4 horsemen. So, hey, I guess you can't blame him for trying. Arn Anderson comes out. He's watching them on the entrance, kind of clapping and all that. Okay, are we going to see a feud, Nightmare Family versus them? Probably. So Tony then interviews FTR on the stage, and he plugs AEW Dark Evolution. He brings out Paul Wight, and Tony says that it will be great working with him. Wight says, raise your hand if you saw this, turn coming, because obviously people make jokes. He's face, he's heel, he's face, so many turns. So he's like, hey, who saw this coming? But he said, no, he's happy to be here. And, he can't wait to work with all the talent. And he says commentary is his passion. And he says it is the biggest scoop, and he has the biggest scoop ever. AEW will sign a Hall of Fame-worthy talent at Evolution this Sunday. So let the speculation run wild. We said if it was a Hall of Famer, it could be Kurt Angle. He's pretty bitter with WWE and the way they handled his retirement. Is it going to be the big rumored Brock Lesnar, or is it going to be like a letdown? It's like, okay. We will see, because WWE on NXT, they claimed LA Knight, Eli Drake, was the hottest free agent. So let's see who this is going to be. We see a video package of the women's eliminator tournament match. Nyla Rose makes her entrance with Vicky Guerrero for some reason. Now they're back together. They weren't. Versus Ryu Mizunami. So I don't, the fact that this wasn't Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and this was the blow off for their feud, and it was Britt Baker and she became women's champ, or even Thunder Rosa, whatever. They completely botched this, but that's no surprise. The women's division is just an absolute disaster on this show. And like I said, this went way too long, too much. Nyla Rose, I think, at least should have won it. You give Hikaru Shida another win, but I don't really know. This is like when they did Emi Sakura versus Riho. This is like who gives a shit about this match? Nobody. At the end of the, elbow strikes from Ryu. Rose hits a big clothesline. More back and forth. Big lariat from Rose. Death Valley driver for a 2 count. Rose hangs, and Ryu, she hits a big leg drop and everything. Climbs back in. Just, it was just kind of like to try how she beat Aja Kong. So they were playing that up and stuff. And or that was actually earlier on. She gets in, for the 2 count. And then she climbs the rope. Rose climbs up 2. It hits a superplex for a 2. German suplex from Rio. And then Rio hits a spear, climbs up to the top, hits another leg drop for a 3. So, it was just like she just wore down, because Rio's not a small girl either. Nyla Rose is a little bit bigger, more powerful, but, so it's just like who was going to wear down who. And I guess they think this is the fresh matchup. But like I said, nobody cares. I wasn't invested in this. Clearly, you see by my enthusiasm. And afterwards, I didn't understand this either. Shida comes out, gives a trophy. Okay, you're a number 1 contender. Yeah, I get it was a tournament, but it was for a number 1 contender. What do you do when you're not number 1 contender anymore? Do they take that trophy away from you? So again, bullshit, stupid. She hands her the trophy. They handshake, and then they start like trading elbow strikes because she wouldn't let go of her hand. She pulled her in, elbow strike, and I'm like, okay, again, just weird. I didn't get it. Then we see Tony Schiavone. He brings out Sting, and he says that, Sting is prepared. Sting says that he thought he was ready until Cage powerbombed him through the ring. I don't think it was through the ring. It was just on the ring, but okay. And he says he wants to thank Cage for shaking off the ring rust. Starks interrupts and says last week he tore the ring up, and he says that he saw fire from Sting and that Sting still has it. And he says he is no icon, and he slaps him. Sting then with a big right hand clothesline, stinger splash, scorpion death drop or death lock, and he looked all right. He never always got the sharpshooter in deep. Bret Hart was always the master at that, but he did it and it looked decent. Everything for Sting, his age, all things considered. Hobbs come out, tries to break it up. Again, he really no-sells it. Hook gets on his neck. He also no-sells that, and it's like, okay, I understand your Sting, but it's 2 on. But anyway, then Darby Allin's music hits. Our Brian Cage comes out first. He starts beating up Sting. Darby Allin makes the save, jumps on Cage's back. Stinger splash to Cage. Darby with a shotgun drop kick, and they clear the ring of Team Taz. So again, hyping you up for their street fight, which I am excited for. I want to see how that plays out. Obviously, it's another match that I would say is pretty predictable. Babyface is most likely going to win, but this is one at least the heels have a better chance to win than the previous talked about match with the Bucks. So then we see the Dark Order. They enter with -1. Scorpio Sky's on commentary, and the Acclaimed enter with a diss soundtrack on 10. 10 holds back -1. He's pissed. He wants to attack him. He's like, no, it's cool. It's cool. I'm going to lose anyway. Don't even try to get the fans hyped up or anything. Scorpio Sky on commentary, I'm just going to say right now, was absolutely abysmal. Never have him on commentary again. Never let him speak. That's Christopher Daniels and nobody else, but it seems like SCU is done for, so we'll never see that again. But this was pretty good. I didn't like the bullshit finish of it, but I think 10 is really good, and he's definitely the one of the stars of the Dark Order. They just need to portray him more, at least in the ring and everything. The guy's pretty good, and I like what are the Acclaimed. I like both these guys, Bowens and what is his name? Max Caster. I like both of them, but they just maybe, I don't know, maybe having babyface, maybe they have too many babyface teams already. I don't know, but I wish it was just a little bit more of a clean wrestling match. But like I said, it was good. Wrist locks, everything, arm bars, wearing each other down. Like I said, good wrestling, cutters, back body drops, all this good stuff. But at the end of this thing, Caster, he takes down, continues to work the arm. He hits a brain buster. He misses an elbow drop from the top rope, but a power bomb from 10 for a 2 count. Caster then gets a foot on the ropes. And then at this point, he like kind of gets in the ref's face talking to him. And then you have 10. He's like draped over the ropes facing the outside. And then Jack Evans, boom, knocks him with a boom box. So he's taken out. So Caster gets the win. And at this point, you're like, what the hell? What's going on? But then you remember, Matt Hardy, he hates Adam Page in the Dark Order. And TH2 is with Matt Hardy. So that's why they're attacking them. So at least it makes sense. But it's like I said, just give us a clean match. So now we know Max Caster will be in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. So that match I'm looking forward to. Like I said, Cody, I could see winning it, but I hope Shaq comes in, fucks him out of that. Give it to Pentagon, give it to somebody like that. That would be really cool. But I could easily see Scorpio Sky too. But if they would put the belt from Darby to Pentagon, I think that would be awesome. But we'll see. I think this will just be another win for Darby. I think he's going to hold the belt for a little while. Then after that, we see Matt Hardy. He gives Jack Evans $4,200 on stage. Commentary runs down the Revolution card. Miro says that he will give the people what they want, destruction. He says he will give the people what they want and become serious. And he says it will be game over. So good, serious promo for Miro. And that's what we wanted to see from day one. None of the bullshit with Kip. Hopefully that storyline's done after he beats the shit out of Orange Cassidy. So then we see Matt Hardy. He makes his entrance in the All of Dark Order, and is next followed by Hangman Page. And this was Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn versus Hangman Page and John Silver. And this was a really good match. Mark Quinn, they haven't mentioned in no commentary. He looks beefed up. He looks like he's putting on a lot of weight. Matt Hardy's a veteran. He's good. Even when he's goofy and the gimmicks don't make sense and his booking and all that shit, at the end of the day, he's still a good, solid wrestler. Hangman Page is good. And John Silver, whether you love him or hate him for the character, his short stature, whatever, everything, he's also legit as well. So this match was really good for the main event, but it just didn't feel main event. With all the other things going on, it just felt like this should be something that was maybe in the middle of the card or started the show, I think. But, this was really good. Hardy, he goes for a twist of fate, but Page counters into a back suplex. Quinn goes to the outside. Silver hits a spear and rolls through with a twist of fate, hits a brain buster for a 2 count. Hardy hits a backdrop and tags in Quinn. Quinn goes for the shotgun drop kick, but he actually kicks Silver over to Page, who makes the tag, and they do some double team offense onto Mark Quinn. And Page with a pop-up powerbomb. Silver hits a German suplex, and then he hits a buckshot lariat for the win. So good match here. The baby faces get the win. Then Matt Hardy, he didn't even go to break the pin. He just watched in horror as Mark Quinn got the shit beat out of him. He got pinned. And then, Hardy, he attacks Page afterwards with a microphone, beats him down. He says he hates him. He hates Silver, and he will make sure that Page doesn't, get out of Revolution, and he makes sure, that the Dark Order and John Silver won't win the Battle Royal and everything. So he's beating him up. The Dark Order run out to make the save, but then all the other teams from the Casino Battle Royal run out. Huge brawl to end this thing. Death Triangle come out to join the brawl. They were the only ones who got music. Matt Hardy runs away as Dynamite ends. So just a big, try to hype you up for the pay-per-view like in the WWE days. They bring out all the guys and they all start fighting. And Jim Ross is like, this is madness. We'll see you Sunday, folks, and goes off the air. That's kind of what this was. And, I feel like you could have did that with a different match, but there really isn't a different match because there's no, 4-man for a title or a 6-man ladder match. Or you could have did it with a ladder match, but we already saw Cody and all that stuff. So, no, not really. We don't need 2 Cody segments. We see that on a lot of shows in the past. Let's leave that trend in the past. But, this was an all right episode of Dynamite. I feel like they've had better go-home shows. But this one, I don't know, it was kind of weak. You could have definitely done more with Moxley and Omega. You could have, did less with the Young Bucks in the Inner Circle. And, like I said, the Cody match, maybe have that be in the main event because that kind of felt like, oh, my God, it's Shaq. Everybody wants to see how Jade was going to be. But let me know what you think in the comments. I didn't hate this episode. Just I would have tweaked some a little bit. But, the one thing I do I'm always going to criticize most of the time is the women's division because it's a complete mess. But guys, thank you so much for watching. And again, make sure you follow us on all the social media, Rope Break on Facebook, OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, and of course right here on YouTube, the Original Rope Break. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time for the NXT UK.